retro future.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Bonsert with the segment I will from now on call the Wyrd Train of Thought. And today I will be talking about values in steampunk, but before I get into the meat of the matter, first I would like to pay attention to the following. By the end of this month I am participating in a 48-hour film project with filmmaker Greggy Frost and nearly 50 other people, who pay for this project out of their own pocket. However, the cost of this project turned out to be more expensive than expected, and now they need to pay things like the admission fee for the contest. Greggy is working to find sponsors and start a crowdfunding to get the amount required before the end of this month. But if you want to support this project, please check out the links below. And for those that already had the intention to support me on Patreon one day, I will donate any new pledges to this project. As a matter of fact, I will double it. That means that if you donate $1 this month, I will make it $2 to the project. So if you would like to support both this channel and the first Dutch steampunk inspired film project, please have a look at my Patreon page. Now with that out of the way, let's go to the meat of this article. A few weeks ago I shared a simple message posted on the website of the Steampunk World Fair by Jeff Mack, which simply read, "Hate is not a steampunk value." It got a number of likes on Twitter, but then I realized somebody replied, "Steampunk is just an aesthetic. This is nonsense." That I would object to this statement should be clear from earlier videos. It's also a genre of science fiction after all. That's why the claim is already incorrect. But the commenter acknowledged this, so no hard feelings there. Steampunk is also a reference to the community, a worldwide community with people that are inspired by the concept of steampunk. The reasons why they are inspired by steampunk vary, but there are values, ideas, and shared values between the individual members of this worldwide community. And today I want to explore these shared values. But to be clear, these are by no means unique to steampunk. So the comment was correct from that perspective. But I don't think anyone actually believes that Jack Mack meant there are values unique to steampunk. Just the kinds of behaviors we find acceptable and those we do not. Before I continue, this video is just a thought experiment and I speak for no one other than myself. This is just an overview of ideas, concepts and behaviors steampunks value and appreciate based on my subjective observations. In this case, I can only guess what Jeff Mack was referring to, but let's assume he meant that belittling people because of their creed, their race, their gender, or dissenting opinion is a bad thing, and that steampunk is open and should be open to anyone. This could be considered his values. And for the most part, this is shared, in my experience, by most steampunks. And with that I mean they wouldn't denounce these values, because like I said in an earlier video, how they behave in public and online might differ. For example, a few steampunks shy away from alcohol, but it doesn't mean binge drinking during conventions is considered acceptable behavior. The same goes for hard drugs or recreational drugs, or expressing certain kinks might be considered acceptable. It might be considered acceptable in private settings, but not during family-friendly steampunk conventions. Not sure how burlesque fits in, but let's call that a gray area, okay? You know, pin-ups, fetishism, and erotic and steampunk is somewhat of an ongoing discussion because steampunk is practiced by people of all ages, including families. The general consensus right now is to keep, especially the gatherings, as family-friendly as possible for that reason. But there is an ongoing discussion about what values should matter to steampunk. Less ambiguous, however, are the subjects steampunk likes to promote. The reason I got interested in steampunk, for example, is the love for anachronism and the creativity that inspires it. So it's not a great leap that both historical and scientific subjects are often promoted among punks. So is individual growth and expression. Although I figure only a minority actually studies history, there's a great appreciation for historical subjects of all kinds, be it for old machines, or architecture, or fashion. Steampunk highly value what I call a timeless aesthetic that doesn't stop to fascinate, no matter what time period we're in. However, because of the historical inspiration in costumes, stories, things, certain groups of people love to shame steampunks by accusing them of whitewashing history and glorifying imperialism. But I have yet to meet anyone that longs to return to that period. Just like Jeff Mack states in his post, to paraphrase Captain Rob of Ebony Park, we long for the past that didn't exist. You know, we would love to have a history that didn't have all those bad things. But there's a lot more to say on the subject of history and multiculturalism, of course, but that would digress too much from today's video. But here's a link to an earlier video I did. That brings me to the last subject. Steampunks enjoy social events, and many of the traditions are centered around silly competitions, like tea dueling, and teapot racing, and tea drinking, and high teas, and scavenger hunts for tea, I assume. Despite the posh exterior, the intent is to be as inclusive as possible. Humor and silliness are important to achieve this, and if we lose those two elements, we'll lose a lot of the people within the community. Simple fact. So it is important to do steampunk seriously, but not take it too seriously. This, once again, is just a thought experiment. So I bid you adieu, and please make it your way.